What's up, guys? Welcome to the Outer Nexus. Tonight, we are going to go over Elon and Trump's crash out, the world changing implications of this kind of, I don't know. I wasn't really expecting this a whole lot. Maybe some people were, though. It seems like Kyle over at the at Secular Talk kind of expected it. But first, let's go over this article really quick because I just think it's kind of hilarious. So this dude, he's 32, has 55 employees, and he's building a nuclear fusion reactor in Wellington, New Zealand. Okay. See, the thing about it's just the Ratu Matayara founded OpenStar 3 years ago with the holy grail of energy generation, nuclear fusion. Okay. Why is this just happening in New Zealand all of the sudden by a 32-year-old billionaire? Like, it just feels like that he's going to be the next pre-planned government. Like, okay, we're going to release fusion through you now.
So I don't know about this gentleman.
Yeah.
You said he's a billionaire.
I don't know. It feels like this is a setup. Just from the fact that they're making a big deal out of how he's a 32-year-old developing nuclear fusion in New Zealand.
Yeah. Now here's something.
Yeah.
There's only one thing for me.
Yeah.
That really just sets this whole thing off a little bit.
Yeah.
And because, by the way, congratulations. That's fantastic titles going on here.
Amazing.
Like
you could invent fusion.
Yeah.
You could be the guy, the 32-year-old who hasn't been killed over this to invent fusion.
55 employees making your own reactor. Awesome stuff. However, the one thing that gets me is that this is in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that isn't because of anything negative against New Zealand.
No.
It's that's where the billionaires are going should anything happen to the world.
They're going to build the nuclear fusion power plants in their bunkers first. They'll release it through this guy. This will be the front-facing thing. Like, oh, somehow we've invented nuclear fusion now. Thank you.
Right. And it's connected to all our security bunkers
in New Zealand.
And now everybody else might be able to get it later.
Yeah, maybe. Once we survive whatever cataclysm is coming, the fucking sun EMP or whatever it's going to be.
It could be anything.
The pole shift, whatever that's going to be. Anyway, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of what's up.
No, before we get into the meat and potatoes, it should be said, I have not seen any of what we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
He is jumping this all on me. I happen to know generally what it's about just because of the title of our episode.
Yeah.
So that's all I know so far.
Yeah. Okay. So, and it's pretty wild how Trump and Musk's relationship exploded in real time over X and Truth Social. Okay. So I'm just going to throw up the actual tweets just to like get a primer on this. So this is what happened. First, they were saying that Elon is pissed over the government cutting out the EV incentive in the bill, which would basically the credits. Elon would be getting $7,500 in tax credits for each new EV vehicle that he would build, which would make them much cheaper on the market. Now, this bill is apparently going to cut that incentive, but there's a bunch of other stuff in the bill that we'll get over. We'll go over that because Rand Paul and Elon kind of went over it themselves. But Elon starts out, whatever, keep the EV solar incentive cuts in the bill, even though no oil and gas subsidies are touched. Very unfair, but ditch the mountain of disgusting pork in the bill. In the entire history of civilization, there has never been legislation that both big and beautiful. Everyone knows this. Either you get a big and ugly bill or a slim and beautiful bill. Slim and beautiful is the way. Okay. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Such ingratitude. It's time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle. I agree with that. Donald Trump says the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months that I was going to do. And he just went crazy. Elon Musk says, this just gets better and better. Go ahead, make my day. So I think this would both end the International Space Station and simultaneously provide no way to safely deorbit it. Yeah, if he ended the SpaceX contracts. Time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. And oh man, when this dropped 4 hours ago, it like New York Times, everybody, it just like vultures on a bone, like they're all over this. I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented to Congress. It's a record bill. It's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase and things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix it. This puts our country on the path to greatness. Make America great again. I just said that because he put it in caps. Yes. Elon says, President versus Elon, who wins? My money's on Elon. Trump should be impeached and JD Vance should replace him. Time to drop the really... Okay, so mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. And then he also adds the Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. So that's all that. Now we are going to get into exactly the issues that Rand Paul and Elon Musk have over this bill. I think there's very interesting things that they're bringing up here. I agree with Elon that it might be time for some sort of, middle of the road third party. I agree with Ian Miles Chong that this may actually be some kind of split in this between the MAGAs and the tech bros, kind of the coalition that they built to get into the White House. This may be a real split, because my hunch is that at the end of the day, despite whatever you think about Elon and Trump, I mean, you can have whatever opinion you want, but I think at the end of the day, and this is just my humble opinion, I think more people would side with Elon over Trump. Now there's a lot of weird implications with all this, though. There's conjecture about Elon doing ketamine and being addicted to ketamine and stuff like that. And there may be some truth to it because, I think he's admitted to microdosing ketamine in the past. But so far, that has just been some kind of left-wing rumor, perhaps. Now, what do you think about and as far as the Epstein stuff goes, that's fascinating. That could mean a bunch of different things. On the base level, it could simply be that we all knew that Trump is in the Epstein files. It just comes down to what he was doing. Over at Secular Talk, Kyle was saying that apparently the first time he had sex with Melania was on one of Jeffrey Epstein's planes. So, I mean, what the kind of relationship Trump has with Epstein, it's kind of fascinating. It could be, I don't know. What do you think about all this, Billy? This is a lot.
It's a lot. But one of the things I would, kind of get into it again, and you kind of said it was, we kind of always knew that he was in the files.
Yeah.
It's just, what is he in the files doing? Because it could just be, like say it was, for like, Trump came over again today and we went, to one of my islands and hung out. Now hung out could mean something else, but it could just mean, because we do know they were friends, they could have literally just been doing something, playing golf.
They could have been, but Trump has been very like when he was asked directly, I think by CNN, will you release the JFK files? Will you release, some other files? He was like, yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And then when it
Yeah.
got to the Epstein files, he was like, oh, maybe, probably. Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's some stuff in there that affect people, but we got to be careful about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can see us releasing that. He was not totally evasive, but it was a weird response. And then when Kash Patel and Dan Bongino came out, and they're like, oh, like they came out like scared little goats, like deer in headlights. Oh, there's definitely nothing here. We'll get you the information when we can get it.
Yeah.
That was strange.
Yeah. And well, it's strange, and it's always been strange to me. Like for instance, like the Epstein files,
Yeah,
or any the Kennedy files, whatever it may be. We have them,
yeah,
like we have the files. Why not put them out there? And like a lot of the times, it's like at least for the Epstein ones, it's like what was he doing that it needs to be redacted to the point where it's like we will never see the real
yeah,
versions of these. He wasn't a government agent that we know of.
yeah,
So it's like there shouldn't be anything in there that deals with national security,
yeah,
except the fact that some of the people implicated might be
yeah,
part of our national security or national systems.
yeah.
And it's like, so why don't we actually see these files? And that's kind of always been the thing for me, is like, and it's crazy because we always get certain thing like the laptop.
Yeah.
We had
Hunter's
the laptop.
yeah.
We had the laptop. Why don't we know exactly what was on the laptop?
Yeah.
And again, it's like we had the thing. Why don't you publish what's out on it?
Yeah.
Hunter wasn't a person of national security until he was like Joe Biden's son, but even that shouldn't count as a barrier too much. And it's again.
Now, so and this kind of falls in line with my opinion that Epstein, and I think a number of people's opinions, that Epstein was an intelligence asset of some kind.
Yeah, but then you have to say that too.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that they just can't come out and say it. And all of this, if this goes this crazy way where there's some kind of crazy crash out blowout between Donald Trump and Elon Musk over Epstein, and also Donald Trump is going to get rid of Jared Isaacman, which was their choice to lead NASA. So, and that in itself has its own implications. It makes me think, if Trump gets in there and they don't release the Epstein files, and they get rid of the head of NASA, and they cancel all of Elon's SpaceX contracts, and like all of this feels like the buildup to some breakaway civilization coming in to assume management. It's like, and then we're going to roll in the humanoid security robots. We'll get you used to them by having them be Amazon delivery robots first. So you get used to having them all around.
No, well, here's the thing. I'd like to see. Yeah, I don't think. I don't, as of right now.
Yeah,
I don't think Trump has any like ulterior motives.
Yeah.
This is a fight with him and Elon, between him and Elon. It affects us because of all the president of the United States and guy that basically has been.
But the thing is, here's the problem, is that Elon is almost a requirement for this new burgeoning space industry. I mean, I guess he's not a requirement, but you look at it, he's getting into a fight with Elon, and then he's also getting rid of Jared Isaacman. Like, this is turning into, this is shifting from being the president of technological, embracing technology for good, to the president who might actually just got flipped to the dark side. Now he's gonna start perpetuating surveillance technology.
Well, here's the thing,
the dark side.
It's not that I disagree with like the Jared guys, him being pulled out.
Yeah,
it's more like we have two things now. We have Elon, and we have Isaacman being pulled out.
Yeah,
and it's like, that kind of shows that he's on a path that we don't want to be on.
Yeah,
but it's not quite a whole set path yet. I don't
Sort of.
like where we're heading.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
So-
I do think it starts to paint a
Well,
picture.
and so here's the thing. Now, I generally agree with you, because the other angle of this is this could be, in my opinion, this could be another Gulf of America thing where Trump orchestrates some crazy scenario for the media to just clomp down on and focus on entirely for the next 3 months as something gets taken care of. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't know. It could be that they're exploding out. It could be that Elon really has succumbed to some sort of ketamine addiction, and he is some figurehead that's been placed in front of these companies.
Yeah.
These companies that he's the CEO of. It's been said time and time again that how does he have the time to manage all of these companies
Yeah.
and also microdose ketamine?
Yeah. And play all those video games.
And play all those video games. So it could have been some legitimate crazy blowout where, they don't trust Elon anymore.
Well, that's the thing. It could just be that.
Yeah.
And I would like to leave it at that.
But there's this article that Rand Paul and Elon Musk, they get into it.
Well, yeah, let's
Okay, so Paul said he refuses to support maintaining Biden's spending levels, and Musk said the Trump-backed tax bill is a disgusting abomination. The intra-Republican fight over the future of a major tax and borrowing bill intensified on Tuesday as President Trump lashed out and former White House favorite Elon Musk offered a sharp criticism of the proposal. The whole thing played out, as today's political dramas often do, in a series of posts on social media. Trump slammed Senator Ron Paul on a Tuesday morning post on Truth Social. He's still using that truth, that accused the senator of having very little understanding of the so-called big, beautiful bill. Oh man, which the House passed last week. The bill would extend the 2017 personal income tax cuts and includes a number of new tax and spending provisions. Trump wrote that the bill may see it that way, but every independent assessment of the package says it will add at least $3 trillion to the long-term deficit and potentially as much as $5 trillion. That means the bill is doing the opposite of what Trump vowed to do in March during his speech in Congress when he promised to balance the budget. The prospect of that increased borrowing is at the root of Paul's objections. In a post on X, Paul seemingly responded to Trump's criticism by showing that he understands exactly what the BBB would do. The math doesn't add up, Paul wrote. I'm not supporting a bill that increases the debt by $5 trillion. I refuse to support maintaining Biden's spending levels. Paul reiterated his view on the bill. He wants to extend the 2017 tax cuts, but in such a way that does not add to the deficit. In his post on Tuesday, Paul added that at least 4 of us in the Senate feel this way. That's the thing, is that there's 4 of them that will vote against the big, beautiful bill. So, I mean, right now, it's probably not going to pass. Musk, who officially departed from his role in the White House last week, jumped into the debate to criticize the bill. I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination, Musk wrote. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who shepherded the BBB through the House last week, told The Hill that Musk was terribly wrong to criticize the bill. Other conservatives suggested that Musk was motivated more by the loss of tax credits that benefit Tesla than by genuine concern about the deficit. Musk's motivation might not be pure, but that doesn't mean he's wrong. In a follow-up on post on X, he wrote that Congress is making America bankrupt. No lies detected there, and the BBB will make that situation worse. Musk and Paul are at least living in reality. The White House, meanwhile, has resorted to trying to discredit the independent entities that have scored the bill. On Tuesday, the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, accused the Congressional Budget Office of engaging in partisan politics by saying the BBB would add to the deficit, echoing a criticism that Johnson made last week. That's a rather absurd allegation, considering the current director of CBO is Philip Swagel, a Republican who previously worked in the Bush administration and at the American Enterprise Institute, a conservative think tank. Math is not a conspiracy against Trump. The president and his supporters are free to disagree with the likes of Musk and Paul, but they should stop lying about the budgetary impact of the BBB and should admit that they support higher levels of borrowing. And then we could have an intellectually serious debate over the bill instead of whatever this is. In the meantime, give credit to Musk and Paul for holding the line on fiscal responsibility. Few of their fellow Republicans are willing to do that these days. And it's interesting because I'm wondering how this breaks for liberals who were fans of Elon. I saw this meme that liberals are frantically scratching their I got this Tesla when Elon was crazy stickers off of their Teslas now,
right.
because it's going to be interesting to see how these politics play out. What do you think?
I kind of think that I don't like adding to the deficit either. I would agree with Rand Paul and Musk on this. And again, I agree more with Rand Paul than Musk because, as was stated in there, Musk may have ulterior motives.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if that's what the bill could do, like, and Rand is good at putting out stuff that shows like this is what it'll do, and here's the math and stuff behind it.
Yeah.
I would tend to agree with him. I have not seen it myself.
Yeah.
I do not know all the things in the big bill.
Yeah.
But I would tend to agree with him because, I mean, that's literally his job. Is he looks at those things and he's like, yay or nay. And he's been right a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So that's where generally I would land on that. Trump is a person who he would like to think that the bill is going to do that.
Yeah.
But he's also one of those people that may not know the implications of all the things in the bill.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of where he's at the moment.
Yeah. And I think you're 100% right. I think Donald Trump is looking at this bill like, come on, guys, we all work together to make this. It's finally happening. It's here. And meanwhile, he really hasn't gone over the bill. Whereas Rand and maybe Elon, I don't know if Elon really has either, but I would think that Elon would have a greater understanding. And even Trump even said that Elon has a better understanding of this bill of me even.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the issue. I think that Trump, he's carrying this bill like it's a battle standard. And it's like, no, we need to sit down and rework this. You know what I mean? Because you can't just let your shit get infested with neocons again. That can't happen.
No.
Because if that happens, because like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how this splits this coalition of tech bros and MAGA, because one of the suggestions here, and I'm thinking maybe this is some kind of 4D chess move by JD Vance and Elon Musk, is to impeach Trump and get JD Vance as president. Now, if that happened, if this series of events led to Trump getting impeached to get JD Vance in there as president, that could be a plot by a lot of different people.
Yeah.
That could be a plot by because Democrats and Republicans, I think they would respect JD Vance more than they would respect Trump.
I don't agree with that. I don't think it's where we're going, because I don't want it to happen.
You don't want it to happen.
I want Trump to stay in office.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I like JD Vance. I have previously have not been on his bandwagon before he launched his vice presidency.
Yeah.
I was not really on his bandwagon, but all the things that I've seen of him since have been fantastic.
Yeah.
I want Trump to be able to ride out his term because I want JD Vance to legitimately run next round.
Yeah.
And from everything so far, unless the Democrats get some, perfect candidate.
If Tulsi was running in the alternate timeline where Tulsi was president of the Democratic Party, that would have been the best.
Yeah.
as far as I go, I am a libertarian, so I don't care if they impeach Trump and get JD Vance in there. I don't really care. I actually agree with the idea of a third party
Well,
because
yeah.
as far as like to me, what it looks like, honestly, standing back and looking at this, it looks like Donald Trump is being used as a political tool by the tech bros now. Now that this is coming out, that's what it kind of looks like to me. And I think the tech bro party is kind of inevitable. Kind of. I don't think it'd be 100% tech bros though. It'd be like
No.
in the middle of the road, something like that.
You would hope that it wouldn't be all tech bros because
Yeah.
they have their own agenda.
They have their own agenda. That's
and
the thing.
and a lot of the times I don't see it matching up with the, like
The
you said,
Republic,
the
yeah.
80% of middle America. I don't
Yeah.
see the tech bro party
Oh yeah,
lining
no,
up. Yeah,
no, that wouldn't happen.
no.
No,
But I do agree 100% since the beginning of time with the third party.
yeah,
You don't have equality with two groups.
yeah,
It mathematically can't be done.
yeah.
You need a third
You
party
need a third party.
for pro or veto,
Yeah.
and it's I 100% agree with the third party.
Yeah. And I'm wondering what the viability of that would be after something like this. Like, where do you think this is all going to go? What do you think's going to happen? Because we also there's a crazy attack on Russia, like that, like World War III is like on the brink. We just had India and Pakistan, and now Ukraine taking out all Russia's what are the I forget what the planes are that they took out. The bombers.
The bombers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard about a little bit about the strike on the bombers.
Yeah.
With the drone attack.
Yeah.
I mean, I have never agreed
Mhm.
with the Ukraine-Russian war ever. Like, it always seems to like there isn't an outcome on that where Russia actually loses that war, in my opinion. Unless
Like
they're
structurally. Like long-term structurally, like even if Ukraine did their very best, their little engine that could, like long-term, Russia is going to still culturally dominate that region.
they're going to dominate that region, and also like militarily,
Yeah.
like they are massive. Like,
Yeah.
if you would think about it, like if the U.S. wants a war with Ukraine,
Yeah.
we should, just based on the powers that be militarily, win.
Mhm.
We should. But and Russia was someone who could theoretically
Mhm.
battle with us.
Yeah.
Like, just based on that kind of like basic math,
Mhm.
Russia should crush the Ukraine every time. And I never, and the fact that it's been drawn out this much, and a lot of it has to deal with like us and how we've handled this war as well.
It's defense contractors. It was
Defense
perpetuated by
yeah.
defense contractors. Yeah.
And defense contractors have a lot of lobbying power
Yeah.
everywhere, but the U.S. is specifically.
Yeah.
And
just to be clear,
it's cost a lot of lives.
You're not saying that Russia should try to take over Ukraine. You're just saying strategically, mechanically
Yes.
with the armies.
Yes.
Russia would it's completely stacked in their favor. Now what's interesting is, and I'm going to pull this video up here. This is how they did it. I think this is really fascinating. Let's just.
Ukrainian engineers designed a clever drone launching system disguised as ordinary wooden cabins mounted on the backs of cargo trucks. These mobile containers looked like simple rural sheds, but inside they held reinforced structures, hidden launch platforms, battery charging stations, and remote-controlled roof mechanisms. The design allowed for drones to be launched either vertically or at an angle, depending on their type, while built-in signal shielding helped them avoid early detection by Russian surveillance. Once these mobile silos were ready, Ukrainian intelligence operatives, possibly with help from local sympathizers, moved them deep into Russian territory. The trucks were quietly driven to pre-selected sites near key airbases, parked in places like forests, farms, or industrial areas where they blended into the landscape. Days or even weeks, with drones preloaded, charged, and waiting for the command to strike. When the time came, encrypted activation signals were sent remotely. The roofs of the containers slid open and the drones lifted off, some vertically, others using ramps or compressed air launch systems for a silent start. Because the launch sites were positioned just a few kilometers around 2 miles from their targets, the drones were able to reach their objectives quickly, leaving little time for Russian defenses to react. Operators guided them in real time using live video feeds, steering the drones with precision toward parked aircraft, fuel depots, and radar installations. Many of the drones carried high explosive or shaped charge warheads designed to pierce aircraft fuselages or ignite fuel stores. Some exploded on impact, while others used delayed fuses to cause maximum damage after reaching their targets. The operation was more than just a tactical win. It highlighted the growing sophistication of drone warfare and Ukraine's ability to strike deep inside Russian territory. In total, 117 drones were launched in a highly coordinated attack that hit at least 5 major air bases. Among the targets were strategic bombers, including aircraft Russia no longer manufactures, making their loss even more significant.
Yeah, so that is 7 billion, and they no longer manufacture those bombers. So it was a significant, tip of the spear kind of attack. It was pretty impressive what Ukraine was able to do. But the problem with this, no matter how impressive these kind of guerrilla warfare attacks that Ukraine does against Russia, it still feels like it's just scratching the surface of Russia's military capability.
It does. And one of the things that I think, yes, a lot of Ukrainians have died. There's no getting around saying that in any better way. But one of the things that should be noted is that Russia has basically kept its gloves on during this war.
Yeah.
Like they if you look at like World War II, like when two sides would clash, that town was destroyed. And don't get me wrong, some of the towns
here too,
in Ukraine have been destroyed. That's why I'm saying there have been civilian casualties. But generally they're not trying to aim for the civilians. Like they're trying to get around having to do that. There are other militants that they have as targets. So I don't agree with how this has been handled. And it always seems like that sneaky attack, right? It was a sneak attack. And the guerrilla warfare isn't yes, should it win you the war? No, but it's just prolonging something that I don't think should continue.
Basically your argument here is that Russia's victory here seems inevitable, and prolonging this seems to just prolong death. And that seems to be what the position of the Republican Party is prolonging this war prolongs death. But Ukraine seems like they don't want to give up. They are, if they want to be fighters, they can be fighters.
We hear sometimes that Ukraine doesn't want to give up from basically
but they're still throwing people in vans,
from one source.
But hang on, this is all happening still. They've tried to do, peace talks, and it still keeps happening. They even targeted the Kerch Bridge in Crimea. It surprisingly, the Kremlin basically brushed it off and said, they did attack the bridge, but they didn't actually. They just took out a lane or something. We'll repair it. So it seems like Russia is actually keeping their gloves on here. Because I would think that attacking that bridge would attacking the bridge and attacking these planes would get a much bigger response out of Russia. And maybe that response is coming.
It may be
coming. But if it does, and this is all kind of exploding out of control, and where do you think the Trump administration is going? If Elon is really, because Elon was Elon was basically like the third vice president or the second vice president, and now he's going to come out with all the dirty laundry. What if he comes out with all this dirty laundry, and Putin just revs up this fucking war, and Trump's in over his head again, and they throw out new monkeypox? What happens then, Billy?
So what is actually your question there?
No, I'm just saying, like, it feels like this might be a precipice of, things kind of spiraling out of control. Where do you see this going?
Oh, and if you're talking about, like, the powers that be and how they're
Yeah.
acting right now, and
Yeah.
in a general sense,
Yeah.
it's not good, because we basically, the way that Trump handled Elon to begin with
Yeah.
was that he was kind of like you said, like a second vice president. We were sending him places basically as
Yeah.
like a like, here he is, and he let up Doge, which is like, he went around and to all our different things and oversaw what needed to be done. So, and then all of a sudden now they're having a huge fight. It brings up questions of, like, really what is going to be.
Yeah.
I think at this point, they're going to have to make up. Like, Trump is either going to have to, I don't like the word back down, but there's no way to wrangle in Elon, really.
That's the thing. That's my opinion about this, is Trump is actually going to have to back down off of Elon, because Elon and Trump represent this coalition that they have.
Yes. And I don't mean all the way back down. I just meant he's going to have to be the bigger person.
Yeah.
And kind of like, listen, we can't fight.
Yeah.
And
otherwise this really puts, this really puts a good opportunity for the Democrats in 2028 if this kind of fighting gets out of control.
Yeah, and I think what they're gonna have to do is basically say 3 more years, and then we can kind of split ways.
Yeah.
And let's just try to make the best of it until then.
Yeah. But we'll see where things end up. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.